So I have a friend who has just recently been getting into these entitled parents' stories. We eventually started talking about them and would laugh at the sheer stupidity of Darwin's failed experiments until last week. She began to be more and more quiet, and when I finally pressed her, she revealed that she's been coming across some of the stories of attempted kidnapping and they reminded her of a night years ago. She never made a Reddit account, so she asked me if I could post her story. After telling me what happened, we're both still not sure if this fits here or not. But it's a story that if someone would ever find themselves in a similar situation, they may get some ideas to protect themselves. So without further ado, this is a story we titled, The Bus Ride. Many moons ago, in the early 2000s, my friend Sarah was going to the local state college. Now, while the college was in the city, she lived out in the county with her father and would use the bus system to go to and from school. One afternoon, after class, her and her friends went to one of their apartments to study for some exams. Well, being the young and responsible young adults that they were, studied for maybe 10 minutes before things turned to a more festive gathering. After a few hours, Sarah happened to glance at the clock, which caused her mind snap. "Hey Dumba! What time does that last bus run?" Screaming profanities and prayers warding off her demise by her father. She quickly ran to the bus stop just in time to catch its final trip of the night. With a huge sigh of relief, she flopped down into a seat in the back and threw her headphones on. Lost in thoughts of what elaborate tales to tell her father. She hadn't noticed a little boy walking up to her until she noticed movement out of the corner of her eye as he sat down beside her. She somehow managed not to recoil at the sight of the child, because while the child was completely filthy and reminded her of someone from Deliverance, it was his creepy smile that she remembered most. He just sat there smiling at her. Until she slowly slid her headphones down and the following interact began. "Sarah, hello? Cece, hello. Sarah, hello. Cece, you're pretty. Sarah, well, thank you. Cece, what's your name?" Now, Sarah had this policy of never giving any personal info to strangers, but kids were usually harmless in her opinion. But every alarm was going off on her head. "Sarah, Katie. Cece, that's a nice name. Sarah, well, I like it." Then the kid just sat there, smiling at her. After like a few minutes of smiling, the kid finally said, "You would make a great mom," and hopped down and walked back to an even more dirty and unkempt monster of a man, whom she could only assumed was the boy's father. 'Cause just like his son, he was just smiling at her. When she looked at him, he nodded politely and kept smiling. She put her headphones back on and dug out a book to pretend to study, but she kept looking back and noticed both of them just smiling right at her. As each stop came up and went, she prayed they would get off, but as the bus began to empty of other passengers, she soon found it was just her, some middle-aged woman, and those two. The bus was beginning to slow for its next stop in a small town that had a series of restaurants. She could take them any more roadie and decided that it was safer for her to go to the MCDS and wait for her father than to sit on that bus any longer. So she gathered her things and prepared to disembark. As she allowed the woman to pass, she noticed the man gathering their things. "Oh hell no," she thought. But she didn't want to make it out like she was trying to avoid them, so she moved to the seat near the front and sat back down. To her horror, she watched as the man and his son took another seat and sat back down. Still smiling at her and nodding. Her anxiety was through the roof at this point as she watched more stops come and go until her stop was coming up. What was she going to do? Her mind raced. As the bus came to her stop, she gathered her things again and watched in horror as the man gathered their things. Instead of getting off, she sat back down behind the driver. "Sarah, how much further till the end of the line?" Driver, 3 more stops. Sarah then leaned in and told the driver about the man and her son and asked if it was possible to have the police there when they arrived. The driver looked into the mirror and then told her he'd take care of it. Sarah glanced back and her heart jumped into her throat, as while the little boy was still smiling at her. The father wasn't. She described it as the look a parent gives their child when they done something wrong and wait till we get home. Now Sarah was usually a very strong individual, but she was in tears as she took out her phone and tried to call her father. Voicemail. Who else could she call? She finally decided to call her ex. He may have been a disloyal boss, but she could always rely on him when it counted most. Sarah, please answer. Please see. Jack, hello? Quietly as she could, she poured her heart out about what was happening and asked if he could meet them at the last stop. Jack, I'm at Rogers right now and it's about 20 minutes to get there, but I'll get there as fast as I can. Sarah, please hurry. She begged. Finally they came over the hill to where the final stop was. Frantically, she looked for something, anything that could help her, but there was nothing. Finally the bus pulled in and the door swung open. The man glared down at her, waiting for her to get off first. Driver, hold up miss. I need to talk to you about your bus pass. The man stood there for a moment until the driver told him this was the last stop and he needed to get off. Man, I'm waiting for my driver, sir, you need to get off. If you're waiting for her, she'll be along shortly, but I need you to get off now. Angrily the man stomped off with his child in tow. As soon as they got off, the driver shut the door. Man, what the? The man began yelling and banging on the door, and Sarah was scared he was going to break the glass until she noticed 2 police cars pulling in, followed shortly by the little piece of crap Jack drove. The police ordered the man away to them and she couldn't hear what was being said. Jack later revealed that the man was claiming that Sarah was his daughter and he was taking her home. Once Jack asked him her name and he said Katie. That was all she wrote. In the end the man got into a fight with Jack and the officers but was finally arrested. When she got home and told her father what happened, he tossed her the keys to his old '82 Ram and she was to never ride the bus again. While it was loud and a pain to drive, she never felt safer. But she did ride the bus one final time after that, when she delivered a plate of cookies to the driver who saved her life. TLDR, the worst night for a bus ride. Edit 1. Well, I'm sitting here with Sarah and just went through the comments and she says she cannot express her gratitude enough for the support. So since we have some time before work, she wanted to answer a few of the questions left behind. She says that she's been okay for a while now for the most part. She went to therapy, and the support of friends and family helped a lot. She still has trouble being alone and she does have things that remind her of that night, like, as we said before, the stories of attempted kidnapping, cause it makes her wonder what would have become of her if things had turned out differently. Also, she never wanted to be someone who falsely accused someone, which is why she didn't act sooner. But as for the guy's intentions, he never indicated he was just selling Boy Scout cookies. As for the kid, she doesn't know what happened to him. Her mind was more focused on the father and getting the hell home ASAP, added to the whirlwind of what just happened and how long ago this was. She thinks the child was taken with the father. As for the kid's behavior, she says she wasn't sure, but he may have had some kind of mental issues. She didn't ask. The excuse of "she's my daughter" was told to her by her ex, since she was still on the bus. She was never told if he tried to use any other excuse. She wants to clear the air about Jack. The history behind them was that they started out as childhood friends as they grew up in the same neighborhood. But as they matured, Jack became a huge player and was going through women left and right. She doesn't recall why, but they both thought a relationship would work, and when it failed she acknowledged that it's just how he was and that she knew it going into it. But didn't make the betrayal hurt any less. At least they were able to stay good friends afterwards. As for learning to protect herself, she says she had always felt relatively confident she could handle a situation, as she did learn martial arts when she was a kid. But being in a dojo is a lot different than alone on a bus with a guy twice your size staring you down. A lot different. But needless to say, her father's dog was a huge support, and when her father passed away she got a Mastiff and named him after her father.
One time, just a little bit, One time, just a little bit, one time, just a little bit, I don't wanna get close. I haven't been the same since I loved that hoe. I haven't been the same since I lost my bro. I say I'm gonna change when I know I won't. I get high, I love to smoke. She gon' lie like I'm a joke. You wanna take flights across the coast. Remember those times, no horoscope. Life goes on, I can't take breaks. I need faith, no, I need faith. In my mind, I can't escape. I climb these heights like I'm a ape. Shine so bright in a world so dark. Break the bank, I'ma break the chalk. Two-door coupe, just push the start. Climb right in, let me break your heart. I don't need no one, I don't need no one, I don't need no one. Still never sober, still never sober. Got the world on my shoulders, coming out bolder. Yeah, I'm coming out bolder. I ride with my soldiers, ride for my soldiers. Thought that I told ya, I thought that I told ya. I don't wanna get close. I haven't been the same since I loved that hoe. Haven't been the same since I lost my bro. I say I'm gonna change when I know I won't. I get high, I love to smoke. She gon' lie like I'm a joke. You wanna take